Everyone, welcome to this Monday's Wealth Creation Show. Morning, everyone on TikTok, and we're doing an early show again this week. We're 9:30, as opposed to our 12:30 usual time slot. So hopefully you can all join us as you usually do, and if not, you'll catch us on the rerun. Today we are going to be talking about I broke it down, 8 ways to overcome failure. Now I know you don't like the word failure, Jim, but a lot of people do struggle with it, and I mean, you're like,
8 ways to overcome. I just didn't succeed.
yeah, because it can be quite.
Or 8 ways to what is it? Overcome. 8 ways I found out that it didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, failure maybe isn't the best word, but the process of obviously not accomplishing things the first time round and how not to let that hold you back, I think is probably a good way for us to approach it today.
It depends how you view the word failure, and you've got to understand. It's like when I was younger, I viewed it in a totally different way than I view it now. It's like
Yeah.
failure is just an opportunity to learn from. That's
Yep.
effectively it. And if you learn from it, you're fine. As long as the failure, this is why I talk about the downside. As long as the failure doesn't lead to a wipeout completely, because I've known a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
Failures led to a wipeout, and it's not led to any success. And basically, for a fair few people, they'll never get up again. They'll never get up. They'll never dust themselves off, and they'll never move on again. We talked about it previously, and something else about Trish. Trish actually set up the Somerset Comedy Festival, and it didn't go according to plan. She had to cancel some really high-profile comedians she had booked for it at last minute because it didn't go according to plan. Now, Trish went out, she had a good greet and all the rest of it, and she went out for a walk and everything like that, but it's no put her off. She just learned a lot of lessons for next year, and I actually said to her at the time, my comment was, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, learn by the lessons, and go again.
Yeah.
That's it.
And people listening might think, well, that's easy for you to say, and people might find that a lot more difficult to do, to pick themselves up and just keep going. Yeah, but I mean, it is the best thing to do, and don't let your attempts to
easy for you because it's no happened to you. It's like it's happened to everybody. It's happened to Elon Musk. It's happened to Jeff Bezos. It's happened to Richard Branson.
Yeah, all these successful people.
Look at the amount of failure Richard Branson's had. I think Virgin Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Virgin Trains isn't going anymore. Virgin Lottery. Virgin Brides. But all these different
he's got so many other successful things that
that's it. Yeah. But that's it. That's what people just don't want to forget completely, is the fact that the failure all these people that are highly successful have gone through in order to do it. Do you think, Anthony Joshua, do you think he actually, do you think he won every single fight? Do you think Muhammad Ali won every single fight? Do you think, all these different Olympians, do you think they won every single race that they went in for? No. A lot of the times they lost it, but then they understood and they worked out how to get better at what they do.
Yeah.
Because failure teaches you to develop the skills to learn to get better. Now, this is why people employ graduates for jobs that have absolutely nothing to do with what they just graduated in.
Okay.
The graduate process teaches you that people can be successful despite the failures that they go through, because you will not pass every single exam first time. You will not be perfect at every single thing. Well, maybe I was, but
waiting on you saying that.
Yeah, but listen, that's because I failed miserably at school. Yeah, I was a dropout, and I was basically kicked out of school when I was younger. I was asked to leave, whether I liked it or no, and I wasn't getting my braid because everybody got their braid at that time, and I was the only person had basically told by my deputy rector to hold my head in shame, hang my head in shame, and the fact that I'll probably go into 6th year as the only person never ever to get their braid.
What is sorry, just for myself and others, what is a braid?
Well, your braid is to be a prefect.
All right, okay.
It's the white line that goes around your jacket. So that was a prefect. So it was. I mean, it's the very few get it now. But at that time, as soon as you went into 6th year, you automatically enrolled as a prefect, and you were given your grade straight away. Some people, very limited, were then only given a 3-month trial. Well, they were given a 3-month trial, but more or less it was like, yeah, you're going to get it, but we're putting you on tender hooks because you've not been exactly the exemplary pupil. But me, it was like, you ain't getting your grade at all. You're not even getting a trial at it. You need to leave school. That's where I was. But then, as I said,
and at the time, how did that make you feel at the time?
Well, in combination with everything else that happened to my life, I kind of thought, well, it's just another thing to reinforce the fact that it's a shitty life so far, and that's where I am right now. And that's kind of how I acted out all that time while I was like that at school as well. And I now understand that now, based on looking back and thinking about it. But then I always say, school is like if you judge a fish, right, on its ability to walk, then the fish will go around thinking it's an idiot for the rest of its life.
Yeah.
Because it can swim very well, but it can't walk. And I mean, I think the expression is climb a tree. If you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, then it'll go about thinking it's rubbish for the rest of its life. It's a failure. But the reality is a fish can swim extremely well. And that's exactly what our education system doesn't encourage. And this is just my personal opinion, and whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong, I could be right, I could be wrong. Wait a minute, that's somebody I just met recently, John Lydon. Could be right, it could be wrong. But the fact is, we should be taking people at school and finding out what they excel in and putting them in that zone. Because that's what they excel in. Yep, that's what they excel in. And that's probably what they love because they excel in it. And that's what we should be doing with these people, putting them in the zone about where they are. So this, you'll have a lot more people, a lot more joyous and happy about what they've got in their career, rather than 91% of the population hating the job that they do.
Yeah, because everyone has different levels of ability in different areas. Do you know, people are really good at one thing, but not so much at the other. And people could be the complete opposite. So let them concentrate on doing that because they're good at it. And then, like you say, they'll excel in that and ultimately feel better about themselves and feel a wee bit more successful rather than a failure.
Just imagine, and for a lot of people out there, including myself, imagine just being told all your life you're not that good. Constantly all the time, and then going into a career and telling you're not that good either. It's like, how is that going to make you feel, and how's it going to make you? Is that going to motivate you?
No,
probably not. I mean, I have said in the past, maybe this isn't the career for you, other than actually tearing people to bits. You know, there's no point in doing that. It's like, maybe this isn't the career for you. It's a nice, polite way of saying it. Because it's just we're no the fish. We don't all swim well. We don't all climb trees well. We don't all. People will be wondering what they're talking about, climbing trees and swimming and stuff. But you know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, Michael Phelps is the best Olympic swimmer ever. But he's not going to beat somebody at the 100 meters, is he? One of the Olympians, because he's not the best 100 meters ever, and he never will be. But he's the best swimmer ever. And it's just like any profession, any person, you're probably the best. I had this conversation at the weekend, and they'll probably not be watching this show. Their son's 16 years old. He's a fantastic guitarist, lead guitarist. Oh my God, this guy could be Angus Young all over again. Now, we've got one Angus Young. We don't need another one. But this guy is so good at what he does. And then they're going, he's outgrown his music teacher. And they've said, look, I can't teach you anymore. There's nothing else to teach him. And then they're starting to say things like, we're maybe going to get him classical lessons to hone and develop his skills and on the guitar and other areas. And I'm like, whoa,
take him away from the guitar.
I never said that though. What I said, a polite way of saying this was, do you know the top 2% of people that are good at what they do, the top 2% in every single area that are good at what they do, are the people that excel and are the best and make the most money out of what they do. The top 2%. And it's because they specialize exactly in what they do. They don't deviate from that. They have a burning desire and a burning deep down conviction that they will be the best in that field. We talked about this off camera. Pink.
Yeah.
Classic example at school. You're a dropout. Why are you not learning this? Why are you not learning that? You're just useless and all the rest of it. It's like, no, I'm going to be one of the best singers in the world. What? You're delusional. It's like, no, I am going to be one of the best singers in the world, and I'm going to be our songwriter as well. And folk are going, no, you know. And our guidance teachers, no, you know. It's like, there you go.
It's the same thing as well when we talk about property investment and buy to let, and people try and diversify too much, and it's like, just stick to the buy to let process where you know it works. Don't try and change it. Don't try and add things on. Don't try and do too many different things. Stay, like you say, stay in your lane. Keep doing what you're doing.
So many. Now, stay in your lane's actually quite I know what you mean, and I'd say that a lot as well, but it can be construed as quite a negative comment. Stay in your lane, because that's what you're told when you're younger. It's like, that's no for the like. It kind of goes in the lines with, that's no for the likes of us, and what makes you think you're so good. But what I mean about staying in your lane is actually specialising and being the best of what you do. And when you're the best of what you do, that's how you make the most money in that field. Because you're the best. People will come to you and they'll pay you a lot of money to do what you do, because you do extremely well. That's why. And it's the top 2% of people in these fields that actually make the most money. And everybody else gets, the other 98%, the combination of what they earn in that field don't even match the top 2%.
Yeah, I mean, as we say, a life could be a bit of a roller coaster, and we all experience moments of success and happiness, as well as occasions of possibly failure and the sadness that sometimes, or the feeling that goes with that. But people often and do fear that feeling of failure, and when they experience that, when that experience comes about, they don't have the proper tools, to really cope with that and move forward. So we should really try and change that perspective around failure, because without it, we would be less capable of, compassion and empathy and kindness and things, and high achievement. And on top of that, failure is ultimately one of the keys to your success, because you learn from it and become better at what you're doing.
Yeah. It's sometimes you can get really locked into this. I was reading a BBC article this morning. Actually, it's written about the East Nuke Salt Company, Darren P.
Oh, I've seen that this morning. I was reading that this morning as well.
Like, when you read Darren's story, you think, God Almighty.
I didn't read it all. I didn't have time, but I did see it.
You're really putting your life on the line. I mean, 4 times or something like that, 5 times he's been having, fluids and that into his system. His heart's got some sort of, irregular beat now because of that. And when he's in his work, he lies on the floor, he falls asleep at night, and he just sleeps where he is at work. And because it's so hot and humid, and because there's salt in the air, the actual doctors actually feel it's like, God Almighty, it's like you've been in the desert for 40 days. And that's no good for him.
I read that.
It's a classic example about a typical entrepreneur when they first start. Their baby is the most important thing to them, and the baby is the business. And they've bought into it, and success and failure is not an option. And I actually commented, and I says, I know exactly how you feel, because it's like, I would rather die than fail. Now, let's be finite about that. And a lot of people actually think like that as well. It's like, you will no longer be here if you die. I'd rather it's succeed or die trying, is the expression I used. Succeed or die trying. It's like, okay, but if you die trying, it's a bit finite. You're not coming back. It's no dress rehearsal. So maybe your success should be not at the expense of your death. It's not nobody's going to hold you up and say, oh, but he died for what he believed in. It's like, oh my God. It's like, no, people are just going to think you're a nutter. That's it. And that's an honest opinion, because that's me. That's Monte Carlo or bust. It's like everything, all in or nothing. That's it in a nutshell. That's how I think. That's how I'm driven. And for sometimes I have to rein myself back, because somebody asked me to do something, a couple of weeks back, and I then woke up the next day and I thought to myself, wait a minute. I'm compromising my morals here and my morality overall, all for the sake of I want to make that happen, because I'm very driven to success, and I'm very driven to make it happen all the time at all costs. But what cost do you want to pay? Is it with your life? Is it with your honesty and integrity? Do you want to compromise? Because you see that recently. We've seen it there the now. It's like politicians betting on the election. It's like, what?
Yeah, no, I know.
It's like, did you know see how that could be construed? Obviously not. But the overwhelming thing about was the money it came with it obviously clouded their judgment.
Yeah.
And these are the things you've got to watch out for when you're trying to overcome failure, because you can get easily caught up into it. You can't see the forest for the trees sometimes, and it needs someone to actually be able to separate that from everything else. I think personally, I would say that.
Yeah. So yeah, I've tried to break down, like I said, 8 ways to overcome, and we'll touch through them as we conversate today. The first one is accepting your feelings and your emotions, and how failure is linked with the feelings and emotions such as sadness and anxiety and stress and even rage, and people get angry and things and so on. So those feelings are incredibly uncomfortable for any person, and will do anything to get rid of them. So that's why you fear that failure so much, because you don't want to have that pain of feeling these things. However, the truth is that those feelings and emotions will be the things that help and drive you to work harder and find different and better solutions in order to improve it the next time round. You just need to really get yourself in that mindset.
Or what it does is it drives you to become addictive at something else. There's
Yeah,
another addiction that
you
replaces it.
transfer that onto something else. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you feel negative emotions, what you do is you tend to, a lot of people go to their phone and look for validation from Facebook or social media. Some people actually just go into their games and they start gaming to win. And they have a community, takes all that stress away from them and anxiety. I'm reading it now, how to live with a compulsive gamer. For kids and adults as well. So I'm actually reading that book now, and it's actually really, really good. And it shows the psychology about why people are compulsive and addictive in behaviors. And that's definitely one of them, as you've mentioned here, Richard, is when they have failure, the emotions and anxiety and the stress and the sadness can overcome them. And in order to get rid of that, they become addicted to something else and things that will actually take that away. Gaming's a classic example because it rewards you for getting through levels and stuff like that. And the gamers are no daft. They're trying to sell you adverts throughout the process, and that's where they make their money. So you get it for free, but they're getting advert money at the same time. That's why they're wanting to keep you hooked on it. The other one is smoking. When you get stressed out and the rest of it, you go out and you have a cigarette, and nicotine then gives you that wee boost. Coffee, caffeine, classic example as well. Alcohol.
Trying to stop drinking as much.
Yeah, alcohol. See, pint of cold pressed juice.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's what I thought you would. I've got coffee and you've got, yeah. I don't drink lots of caffeine, but I do drink
Every single vitamin you'll ever need. Fibre, protein, everything. All in this pint. The best pint of Guinness.
I was just going to say that.
Apparently, I'll ever have. But it's not Guinness. It's cold pressed juice.
But you're absolutely right. Yeah, you could transfer these feelings into something else, and like gambling and things is a big one as well. I think there's the local guy Colin Brown just put out some content of his own experiences with gambling and everything. It was quite interesting to listen to.
I was an addicted gambler when in my teenage years, and I'll never ever go back to it. But then, as the guy said to me when I did a podcast with him, they were obviously anonymous when I did the podcast, and you didn't get to see their faces or anything like that. But as they said to me, we just swap one addiction for another. And effectively, I've just come addicted to my work.
Well, then that's a positive thing, I suppose.
Yeah, because I'm addicted to something I love what I do.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to what I love what I do every single day. And I get up and I can't believe I have the actual I can't believe I have the luxury of being able to do what I want to do. And the old adage is, if you love what you do, will you ever work another day in your life?
Yeah.
No.
Well, no, that one was agreeing with you. Yeah.
And this is why I often, we have this discussion about, I do podcasts when I'm at Glastonbury. I'll do another one. I'm going to be at Glastonbury now at the back of this, but I'll do another podcast when I'm at Glastonbury, and I'm happy to do that. And folk are like, "You're working while you're away." It's like, it's no work. I love what I do. It's just me. It's just me. It's just me talking. I love what I do because I get to go into people's houses and I have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea with them. Decaf
Yeah.
coffee, peppermint tea, please. Dairy-free stuff because I'm vegan. If you're cakes and biscuits. So that's just if anybody's inviting me around. And I talk to them about their problems and I solve them for them. And I tell them what they should be doing and how they should be doing it, and give them the benefit of my advice and years and expertise and knowledge in the field that I'm in. And that's property investment, property letting, and also property sales, and quite a lot of life skills that go with it as well. With being my age.
Yeah. The life learner thing's quite you. It's like quite your thing.
Yeah, you're a student for life.
Yeah.
There's always an opportunity, and that's what it says about the book I'm reading, is about how to live with a gamer, and an addictive somebody that's got addictive behaviours, and that's fine with me. I just love to understand that mindset because it gives me a better understanding myself as well. So I'm not doing it for other people, I'm doing it for myself. And by doing things for yourself, you then are motivated to do it more, because if you're doing it for someone else, this is how failure comes as well.
Yeah.
You know, we might touch on this when we're coming about this, but this is a good point. If you're doing something for someone else, like for example, stopping drinking or stopping smoking, if you're doing it for someone else, as soon as you fall out with them, you'll be straight back on the booze. Yeah. Because it's like, I'll show you. Glug, glug, glug. It's like, well, you're not showing them. You're just doing it to yourself. It's like drinking poison and expecting another person to die.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. So that's why you've got to understand addictive behaviours, and you've got to understand how the failure contributes towards that. But you have to change your mindset and the fact that failure is an opportunity to learn and overcome. And only failure will teach you how to do that. Now, wisdom can teach you how to do that as well, and wisdom's really good, because then wisdom means you're looking at someone else's failure. It did what you're about to do, and they failed in doing that. So it teaches you then by their wisdom for the things that you shouldn't do in order to overcome that quicker, in order to not fail in that and what you're doing. Classic example. If you want to learn hurdling and you're watching an Olympic athlete, okay, do you go and hurdle yourself and just work it out how you should be jumping? Or would you take the wisdom from the Olympic athlete and watch their video of them jumping?
And how they do it,
Yeah. When they leave the ground, at what point, how far from the hurdle themselves, what their leg distance is as well, what their reach is over there, what their clearance rate as well, and what their landing is over the other side. And then what have they done and what do they do every single day to train to get to that level of expertise? That is wisdom that you're learning from. You're not reinventing the wheel. You're learning from the wheel, but you're actually possibly making it better later on.
Yeah.
And just honing and developing it. Not at the point where you get Venus de Milo, chip, 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 oh bugger. And the arms fall off. And it's like you've got the statue with no arms now. It's like you can't put them back. So you have to be careful of that as well. And again, these lessons can teach you that as well. So success leaves clues, and success is often what you should learn from for wisdom. That's wisdom that you're learning from. That doesn't cost you a lot of money, whereas failure is trial and error, and that could be extremely costly to the point it can wipe you out.
Oh, it definitely can, and I think yeah, you're right. Really embrace those feelings and emotions that come with, even the negative ones, obviously that come with failure, because trying to avoid them, as we say, could really lead to an unhealthy coping mechanism, which is then transferring it onto another addiction or another.
Yeah, this is a good one. This is a good one while we're on this subject. Andrea actually says, if you have no willpower, then that's an automatic fail before they start trying. I actually had this conversation with Elaine last night.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, and I had this conversation with Elaine last night, and we were talking. I was talking to my mum about it yesterday as well, about someone else in our family, and I said, but they've not got any compelling reason to change. There's no reason out there for them to change. They will not change for that reason, Mum. You don't understand. You could keep going on at them time and time again, basically grind them on the ground mentally, thinking they're a failure and all the rest of it, because you're trying to help them as much as possible. But the reality is, unless they've got a compelling reason to change, they will never change. Does this sound familiar, Richard?
Yeah.
Does this sound familiar with conversations in the last
Yeah.
couple of weeks? You've got
You need
to
to have
want
those
it.
drive. You
You've
need to
got
have want and have those things driving you. Yeah, definitely.
you've got to want it. You've got to want. You've got to aspire. You've got to want. You've got to want something. You've got to. There's a want, but there's also a need. If you
Mhm.
change a want to a need, you will be compelled to do
Yeah.
anything for that reason. And that's often why people find themselves failing, even because they're driving a need. But the need might be social connection, but the social connection available might just be with other people that have got
Yeah.
alcohol problems.
Yeah. Yeah. People in
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
in that same field, in that field that you're trying to avoid. And it's like, if you get in tow with them, then you could be in trouble for that
Hmm.
reason. So it's a lot to do with the people you associate with as well. So emotions and feelings and failure. But
Yeah.
remember, the second one you actually talked about here is failure does not mean your life is going to be over.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people do. They just kind of let it define them too
I used
much.
to do this as well. It's like, if you fail in something, that's it. You've only got one chance. It's like, I talk about this every single year with the school exams. And I put
Mhm.
a live out every single year, a live broadcast out every single year. Just because you failed your exams, it doesn't mean to say you won't go on to meteoric success.
Yeah.
Look at me. I only came out with a C. I scraped a C in higher maths. I maybe got 5 O grades, but that was on the bounce. But it
That's
was in
surprising to hear that you got a C in maths.
yeah,
I think that's
and
great
yeah, I
actually.
know. And yeah, and I got an O grade in art, a B. I think I got a C. I got an A in arithmetic, possibly an O grade.
Hmm.
I got a B or a C in English, and that was second time round.
Hmm.
And yet I'm in the top 1% in Britain
Hmm.
in terms of wealth.
Well, that's
How's
because
that?
you picked yourself up and turned things around.
I think there's a lot to do with, as well as the fact that when you have no other choice, you just have to make it happen.
Yeah. And
If
that's
you're
when
driven.
you need to make it happen.
This is why dyslexics usually work very, very well if they understand it. It's the fact that they've got no skills except their people skills.
Hmm.
They can't read and write and all the rest of it is what we do. They can't interpret anything,
Yeah.
but they develop great people skills, and they become social animals and social
Like
connectors.
interpersonal connections.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then they learn how to adapt with what they've got just now. So the dyslexia ends up becoming almost a power.
Mhm.
Anger is an energy that John Lydon talks about. His anger was an energy which drove him forward to get the success he had with the Sex Pistols, and then Pill as well, as a result. So there's these, and Jackie Stewart. That's the only thing he had going for him was motor racing, because he was
Mhm.
dyslexic. It was like that, and he had nothing else. And it was like, well, it's all in or nothing. And so, and that's the type of thing that you've got to think about. I mean, there's another one as well, as Lewis Hamilton. I saw this morning.
Yeah.
Now, here's a thing. I talked about specialization and the fact that to be overcome failure, you've got to specialize in what you do. Interestingly enough, we talked about. I typically think, and so everybody understands this, that you're not a failure. By the way, it takes you 15 to 20 years in any industry to actually be the pinnacle of where you are and to be the
Mhm.
most successful later on. This is why you get people leaving their job after at 40 and 50 years old to start up their own business and then meteoric success overnight. And everybody goes, how the hell did you do that? I spent the last 20 years doing the same
Yeah.
thing and I wasn't very good at it. But then I worked it out, and then I thought, this is Monte Carlo or bust time.
Mhm.
This is my only chance to be a success in this. So you go all in and you put a hell of a lot more effort in than you did for your boss. That's what people don't realize, the
Yeah.
price that you pay for that reason. The kids get thrown out the way, and the wife and the partner gets thrown out the way, and everything else goes to the dogs. And it's like, this is your sole objective. It's like to win at this at all costs. Now, that's where it's important to pick the right partner, isn't it? In life,
Yeah.
the person that will support you rather than pull you down, because
Oh
they're
yeah.
not getting the attention they need. It's like, be honest, that's their problem, by the way.
Yeah.
It's like, that's it. That's not healthy in a relationship. You have to be there for a needy person. You're not their nursemaid or their doctor or whatever. You're not
Mhm.
there to do and support them all the time. in times of crisis, in times of calamity or anything like that. But you shouldn't be with someone that needs you to survive.
No, because then it's like that's that whole codependent thing, and yeah.
Yeah, well, this is this whole thing about, where are you going tonight? It's like, well, I'm just going out with the guys. It's like, oh, well, what about me? Well, what about you?
Yeah.
We've heard that familiar story, haven't we?
Yeah.
And that's how people become failures, in their marriages and stuff like that as well. That's another thing that happens because they don't understand I think they don't understand the first principles about the fact that why are they in the relationship?
Yeah.
What is it? Why are we together? What is the point of this? And can we accept that we can both have a happy life outside of this relationship without having to depend on the other one? And
Yeah.
that to me is a healthy relationship.
Yeah, definitely.
Where someone goes away climbing the hills or whatever it is, and the other one, quite happy to stay at home. Another person goes away to, have spa weekends with their girls and their friends and all the rest of it, and I stay at home. Which is great because we both get a break from each other.
Yeah, and as well, different interests and things. Let each individual explore and obviously and carry out their own interests without having to be together to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really success. There's no living in the pockets of each other.
Andrea's saying nothing worse than a needy partner.
Needy partner, yeah, it's no easy, having to look after somebody basically all the time, and
yeah.
And as soon as you walk away and stop motivating them, they go, and then you're back going, come on, you can do it. You're the best at it. And then they go, yeah. And then you go away for a wee while and they go, oh. It's like, that's no healthy for your relationship.
Yeah.
Definitely not healthy. But it's not actually admitting failure or defeat if you think that's not the right relationship for you. So don't, and it's this whole thing about, people judging them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like people are afraid of other people's judgment. It's what other people think of you is none of your business.
Yeah, definitely. I think when it comes to failure, I mean, the truthfulness of failure is it's something that happens to you. It's not what you are as such, and everybody fails at some point in different aspects of their life, and like you say, in your job and your love life, possibly if you're trying to get into university, people get knocked back. There's lots of other things, and you don't need to let it really have that effect on you and define you. But that's completely optional whether you let it or not.
Yeah, definitely. And here's some good examples of people that have been extremely successful. We'd hold it as very successful and wealthy. Bezos.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute, but Bezos has got a failed marriage.
Yeah,
he's a failure.
A very expensive failed marriage.
But look at that. How many people would go out through life and just normal day to day? How many people on the street would go about and think because they've failed at their marriage, they're a failure?
Yeah, a lot of people will.
But you wouldn't point the finger at Bezos and say he was a failure.
No.
You wouldn't point the finger at Bill Gates and say he was a failure, would you? But Melinda and Bill aren't together anymore. So why would you do it to yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you beat yourself up about it? That's what I would ask everybody. Stop beating yourself up. It's like, and I say that I say that there's sometimes hey, listen, I've been there as well, and I still do it sometimes. I catch myself beating myself up as well mentally sometimes about something I've not been successful at, and not as successful as I could have been at. But the classic example of that is someone else comes along and says, well, I told you and all the rest of it. Hey, I don't need you to beat me up as well. I'm doing a good enough job about it myself without you having to chip in on social media.
Yeah, that's all falls into the next one is obviously being constructive and learning from failure and being constructive, and that's exactly what you're talking about now, as not letting it overcome you and using it to move forward, and it could be a really big challenge to do that for some people.
Yeah, learn to use what you've not been good at in order to find out what you can be good at.
Yeah,
I
and I
would say
think,
it that way.
but to do that, you really need to understand what you actually did wrong, or what you maybe not the right way to say it.
Take it on the chin. Take it
Yeah.
on the chin. You know, if you're prepared and you're ready, ask for somebody's advice, ask for
Hmm.
somebody's feedback, ask for somebody's opinion. But be prepared for it. Be
Hmm.
prepared to accept the fact it might not be exactly what you think it is. We train with Stephen Brown. Stephen Brown usually says typically, this is a safe place. We can
Hmm.
all be constructive. We can all be, we can all say things that we'd normally not say in public. So if you want to say something, please feel free to say it now. And there's no hold barred here. And I
Yeah.
think that's important, to have that sort of relationship with someone you could actually confide in.
Yeah.
I think that's that important. A lot of entrepreneurs think they should just be on their own in their entirety, and they don't have anybody else to bounce off with. They don't have anybody else to talk about their situation, and then that's what drives them to things like addictions and addictive behaviour, and
Trying to master
behaviour,
things.
yeah,
Yeah.
behaviour which will not align with what they do. Definitely. But this is where I come back to, you talked about the fourth one in here, about the
Hmm.
8 ways to overcome failure. The fourth one is, find inspiration.
Yeah.
You've got to want it. You will do nothing unless your inspiration or your goal is bigger than the work and effort you have to put in to get it.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you'll do nothing. It's a typical example. Why would you put £100 in the bank if you're going to get £80 back at the end of it? That's exactly how it is for your inspiration. Your inspiration is the interest that you'll get over and above what you're about to invest in,
You're
what you're
putting
about
in.
to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, and the reward that comes with it as well is that, and you have to quantify that reward and write it down. You listening, Richard?
Yeah.
You have to quantify that reward and write it
Right.
down.
Right now. Yeah.
Yeah, write it down and make it clear and crystal in your head over a period of time. Oh, well, I'm hearing you saying, I don't know really what that is, and I'm not really sure. Hey, just write anything.
Because the thing is, if you, and it is true, and I've learned this just fairly recently, about writing things out, and being hesitant about writing it down, because it's maybe not exactly what I'm thinking of, but then it could always change
So,
along the way.
yeah. So do
Yeah.
you know what I used to do? I used to write down things like, I want a Lamborghini. And then when I got to that point, or I thought about it, I thought, no, I didn't really want a Lamborghini. But the very fact of writing it down then emphasised the fact that, yeah, you probably don't want that.
You fully do.
So then I
Yeah.
started to find out what I did want by actually writing down what I didn't want.
Hmm.
And it narrows it down then. It's like, what do you really want? What do you really want out of this? What do you really want to achieve? And then that's the sort of goals that you've got to keep focused on. For me, I've got to say, I just used to watch Secret Millionaire all the time and thought, this is
Hmm.
great. I used to have floods of tears in my eyes and thought, one day this could be me.
Being able to
and,
do
and,
that
and
for other people.
effectively,
Yeah.
effectively helping other people doing what I do because of,
Yeah.
the amount of massive wealth I've actually accumulated as a result of what I've done, and being able to give it to people that really need it. I kind of saw myself as like a Robin Hood, taking from the wealthy to give to the poor. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah.
It's like, but I'm doing something that they want me to do anyway.
Yeah.
They want me to sell their house, and everybody else sells houses. So why don't I not just take that and sell houses and do it better than everybody else? And I could take some of the money and actually give it to people that really need it. Social enterprise. That's what that's
Yeah.
all about.
Oh, definitely. And other local causes and computers for schools, and there's just loads of things like these are the types of things that goes, and then it feeds back into
Imagine
the, yeah.
we've given away £130,000.
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
It's crazy when you think
Because if
about
you
it. Yeah.
said £130,000, it's like, wait a minute, that's dearer than a house.
Hmm.
That's dearer than a 2-bedroom semi-detached house that you've given away to the community, to charities, to people that really need it in Fife,
Yeah.
rather than actually us. We've forgone that ourselves. We could have had that ourselves. We could have put it in our own pocket. Could have enjoyed ourselves and all the rest of it and had a great time and spent it. But at this point in time, what's wrong with that? Somebody else needs it more than we do.
Yeah.
And
There's
somebody else
always,
is always going to need it more than you do.
there's just because there's always going to be somebody else more in need.
And this is why I go back to saying about the finding the inspiration. If you can, you must. You don't need to stop making money just because you've got enough. Go and make some more and give it to people that really need it, because they don't know how to make it. and they really need it. So just do that. That's your inspiration. If you're looking for inspiration, look at somebody living in the street right now. Look at somebody in the street right now.
Think how their
Sitting
life.
begging.
Yeah.
They've got nothing. Absolutely nothing. And you're walking by with all your food and your drinks and all the rest of it, having a great night out, and they've got absolutely nothing. Their life is almost at an end. And then tell me you shouldn't make more money to help them.
Yeah, that's perspective.
That's it for me. It's like, I just think about that all the time. It's when people going about, how hard done by they are with their, in their house. And I just think to myself, holy shit, you've got a house. It's like there's people in Africa who've got a bloody mud hut and they've not even got shoes. And you're greeting about the fact that you've not got your heating on within an hour. And you're still surviving. And you've still got a better quality of life than them, regardless of what you think.
Yeah, and I think that's really, that could hit home quite easily with people. I mean, even just having that conversation, it really makes you realize and have that inspiration, and see if you can get drivers and find inspiration and be inspired like that. Then no one or anything will stop you if you keep that perspective in place.
Yeah, you'll never give up. You'll never give up. You'll make yourself, you'll do it whether you like it or not. That is the days that you'll get up and say, I've got to go to that event. I've got to go to this. I've got to do that. I've got to do this video. I've got to, promote this local event. This is what drives me. I've got to promote that local event. It's happening today. More people will know about it. More money will go into their coffers as a result of it. So I'm going to promote that local event. So I take myself out of my own comfort zone. I go and do that event. I promote it. And then I go back to what I do. And I just, it's a small inconvenience for me. But I tell you what, it makes a huge difference to the people that I do it for.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what, and that's my inspiration. That's what it is. And it's the not giving up. It's making yourself happy and appreciate the time. Prove to yourself that you're capable of doing anything you want, and demonstrate your actions. And you demonstrate the naysayers, the naysayers become wrong, don't they?
Yeah.
Actions speak louder than words. What you do, shout so loudly, I can't hear what you say. Is the expression. More importantly, success comes to individuals who keep trying and don't give up. The best thing I ever learned in primary school was Robert the Bruce. If at first you don't succeed,
try again.
That's it. I always remember that story. When he sat in the cave, I got told, whether it was true or no, I don't know. But the reality is, that's what I saw. That's what I heard when I was younger. See how impressionable young children's minds are. The spider, one end to the other, trying to get their web, trying to swing back and forward. And Robert the Bruce came up with, if at first you don't succeed, try again. And it sticks with me today, emblazoned in my mind, programmed from a young age for success. All you need to do is overcome the elements that you've got round about you. Some people have every person has a different journey from everybody else to take. And your price might be bigger and your price might be smaller than someone else's to pay to get that success. But if you want it, you've got to pay the price or you'll just not get it. So don't give up. That's the important thing. Just keep going. Dust yourself off. Keep going again. Learn from what you've done. Learn from your failure. Learn from people more successful than you. If you want to be the best guitarist in the world, you need to get around the best guitarists in the world. You need to watch every single podcast about the best guitarists in the world. You need to read every single book about the best guitarists in the world. And that's what you need to do to be the best guitarist in the world. So what do you think I've done to be the best investor in property in Britain? I've read and I've listened and I've learned and I've been to courses and I've been mentored by everybody in these sort of fields. Obviously not the disingenuous ones which just want to make money, the furus.
But you found that inspiration from the
I found some furus on the way though.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm able to tell other people to keep away from these people as a result of that, because they're just there for taking their money and they're not really there for helping them succeed at all. This is why somebody was convinced at the weekend that you just try to sell courses.
We don't do
No,
courses.
I have never sold a course in my
No.
life, and every information I've been given to everyone else is free all the time. But if you're free, you've got an upsell. I've no got an upsell. And then I eventually got to the point is you're just going to have to accept the fact I'm an exception to the rule.
Yeah.
And then somebody actually came on and he said, you must be a bad businessman. And I think Neil Robb came on and said, I think the fact that Jim's got millions would suggest that maybe he's no that bad at business. And then he made up some excuse about, but that could be all just a lie. And it's like, and I was halfway typing, here's my limited companies, go and look them all up and you'll see what the net worth of them is. And I thought, why am I bothered?
I know.
It's only one
and that's where you have to stop yourself and not let the negative and the naysayers and things get hold of you.
It doesn't matter, even if it's some limited companies, you probably say I made them up.
Yeah.
Even though they're public record and you've got to file them as part of law. But that's the whole thing. So you could tell the next one, the sixth one for me, is always being passionate.
Yeah, you're passionate, and to be passionate.
I go in for everything with passion. You can see that it always comes across.
Yeah, of course.
Why did I do that? I don't know. I'm just like that. Why would you want to sit in the shade for the rest of your life if the sunshine was just 2 meters away from you? But some people choose to sit in the shade all their life and piss and moan about their circumstances and everything round about them. And yet the fact is, right next to you, almost 2 meters away, the sun is shining. Yeah. And all you need to do is move your seat. A classic example at the weekend. I posted, wow, I've not seen the beach busy in a long time on the Leamouth community page. And the next minute you get the trolls coming in. It's like, have you seen this? Have you seen that? Have you seen that? And I'm like, have you seen all the stones on the beach? And I'm like, okay, but have you seen the sand? And have you seen the sea? And have you seen
have you seen all the stones
shining on you as well? It's like, but you've got to concede. It's like, no, I choose to see the good stuff when I go down to the beach.
Yeah.
Wherever I go, I choose to see the good in it. I don't choose to look at the bad. Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to put that shit in my head?
Why would I walked along. I took the dog away along the beach because it was so nice last night. And it's like, why would you even walk and pick out all the negative things? It was so beautiful.
But some people have such shitty lives.
Yeah.
And they want to watch the world burn round about them and everywhere with it. Because they want to take it out on everybody else because of why they've ended up where they are right now. Now, if you're going to suck this up and you're going to take this in for people that are listening, I was told this as well, so you're ready for it. You are where you are because of the choices you've made, or the choices you've let someone else make for you.
Yeah.
You are your own person to blame for where you are right now if you don't like it. You're the only person that can do something about it to change that. Only you. No one else can do it for you. And that's the great thing about it. You are in control of your life, but for some people, that's the most frightening thing about it. They realize they're in control of their own life and they don't want that to be.
And you're so right about, because a lot of people sometimes find themselves in the position they are in their own life and they're so quick to turn around and say, but so and so, and it's like, but it's nobody else's fault. It's, and put the blame to where they are on somebody else. But anybody could change anything, but it's down to you.
So learn to drive forward. Learn to be passionate about what you do. Otherwise, if you're passionate, if you're really passionate about something, nothing will stop you.
Yeah, I'll give you that motivation to put in so much more effort and to be passionate about something that you actually genuinely love and love doing, and not because it was imposed on you by others, is completely different.
Absolutely, definitely.
And we did. We're going to move on to the next point here, and we did kind of just touch on that, but it's surrounding yourself with positive people as opposed to all these negatives and letting all that nonsense.
You cannot emphasize all these things so much. So we often say we're going to talk about that again, as if almost like apologetic. It's like, no, repetition is the mother of all skill.
Yeah.
And if you're not successful in whatever you're trying to be successful in right now, you probably need to keep listening and repeating it to yourself about how you need to be successful. Because at some point in time, the penny will drop, and then you'll move forward and you go, Now I know what to do. This is why people used to say, it's like when I used to go to functions, people used to say, I thought they were just talking just to me. And all of a sudden, meteoric success overnight. The next minute they're on stage and everybody, and they were going, I just thought they were talking exactly to me. Andy Harrington, the Public Speakers Academy, talks about this. He says, when I was with Tony Robbins, he was the only person. Tony Robbins just looked in my eyes and goes, you will be successful in whatever you want to do.
And you took that and run with it. Yeah.
And he talks about, he says, that was the defining moment for me. I just knew the penny dropped. He says, if it was to be, if it is to be, it's up to me. He says, that was the defining moment for me. Tony Robbins made that difference. And I'm like, do I need to get in front of Tony Robbins? I need Tony Robbins to tell me then. And I was like, Tony, tell me, Tony. And I even got to the point where I was in front of Tony, shaking his hand and everything. And I was like, Tony, you need to say something inspirational to me. But nothing really came. And then I realized when I walked out of there after all these years, it's like, well, if it's to be, it's up to me. I can't wait for someone else to tell me what I need to do in order to where I need to get. I have to go and do this myself and drive myself forward. And I have to be motivated to do that. And that's the passion. But equally as well, surrounding yourself with the positive people are the most important thing ever. Your support group, your business support group, your environment,
the environment you're in,
is the most important thing you could ever have. Could you imagine what happens to you when the crabs in the bucket? So you drop a whole lot of crabs in a bucket. Fishermen and fisher people will know that. Fishermen and women will know this. If you put crabs in a bucket, the crabs will go about and they'll just climb over each other and all the rest of it, and they'll just be there, and that'll be it. They'll not do anything. They'll not hurt each other. But if one crab starts to climb out of that bucket, the rest of the crabs start to haul it back in. And it's like, sorry, why? It's like, that's what they do. And if that crab goes to the point where the crab tries to get out and keeps trying to get out, the other crabs will kill it.
It's strange to think that,
That's just about that's the people in your social group right now.
It's a good analogy.
I'll tell you right now, even if you're in a really positive social group right now, if you try to leave that group, there'll be a few eyebrows raised and a few comments made, because they don't want you to be anything other than them and support for them. And that's why they fear you leaving. So this is why you typically are not involved with the same people when you first start out in your journey. Some people are like rocket boosters on the shuttle. When the shuttle takes off or the rocket takes off, these people are with you at the beginning, and then they fall off and they fall back down to earth. And then the next booster goes with the next people that come on board, and they help you to get to the next level, and then they fall off as well. And then eventually you're at the top, and then you've got other people which you've never known before who actually help you in your next journey. And that's kind of like what your success will be. Some people will be with you forever. I mean, Richard, you've been with me more or less from the beginning. But some people are just casualties of the situation. And because their goals don't align with yours eventually. Their goals maybe align you in the beginning. I mean, some people have joined us because the aspirational thing about we give to the community. But then it's like, they go, well, I actually want more because I want a bigger house and all the rest of it. Okay, well, we've not got that position for you. It could pay that amount of money. So you're probably going to have to go somewhere else to get that. And that's fine. That's the way it is. You just have to accept that. Whereas before, I used to go, what do you mean you're leaving? It's like, take it quite personally. Is there a problem here? It's like, no, but it's like, it's just the way it is. And that's what I've always said about, if there comes a day where people think they don't want to use me anymore, that's fine. It just means the community doesn't get any more money. I just had a conversation with a sponsor this morning. It's like they've been putting up loads and loads of posts for their thing that's going on in the next couple of months. It's a huge event. And they've not tagged any of the sponsors in it at all.
That's crazy.
And I'm like, right, okay, we're giving you all this money, and all you're doing is taking the money and actually just running the event. And you're not tagging any of the sponsors in. So how do you think we're expected to pay you even more money next year, or give you the same contribution next year, if you're doing nothing for us? Because the people that use our business are the people that pay for the sponsorship for your event to make it run. Symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, they want to see
Well,
that connection. They want it to
honestly, but a lot of sponsors, a lot of organisations think it's just, oh, thanks very much for the money, and that's the end of it. It's like, but you want to champion these sponsors. You want to make your sponsors as much money as possible, because your sponsor will be the one that will give you even more money next year to run a bigger and better event.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important to tag your sponsors in every single post. And it's surrounding yourself with all these positive people that will motivate you and constantly keep you in check, and constantly keep you motivated all the time. But they're not. It's not their responsibility to do that, because you should be encouraging them as
You
well.
have your own motivation, but yeah, it's good to surround yourself with that positive
You have to have
feeling.
internal.
Yeah.
Internal motivation is probably one of the most effective things. Internal motivation is the right. Your mind is. You remember when you grow, your mind deals with a lot of stress and anxiety, uncomfortableness. If you're uncomfortable when you're doing something, congratulations, you're actually growing within, because you're uncomfortable. You've never done that before. Whatever you're doing, obviously, it's got to be legal. I might point that out, because there could be things that you could do that's uncomfortable. It could be illegal. So it's got to be legal. It's got to be above the law. But so you've got to make sure that if you are uncomfortable, congratulations, you're being successful at something because you're doing it for the first time.
I think as you surround yourself with positive people and things, you're eliminating another burden from your process. Because if you've got negative people and they're having a negative impact on you, then it's just another thing that you're going to have to try and deal with and overcome. Whereas you've got a positive group and you're all uplifting each other and helping each other out, it will pay dividends for you and your mental state, and obviously in your success as well. And then it brings us to, and I thought we could round up today a bit, obviously, how failure affects people and how their mindset and things. And the last one was to really avoid isolating yourself, because people do this. Like you said, Jim, they shut everything out and then become too engrossed in their own mind and their own self, and it could be quite detrimental to you if you completely isolate yourself and don't have those social connections and interpersonal connections and things with people as well.
It's easy when you fail to go into your own cave and actually start licking your wounds.
Yeah.
And that's fine for a short period of time. Hence the reason why I disappeared in the camper van.
That's fine. You go, can, like you say, recalibrate, recharge, can like get you back with your own thoughts.
Is it really recharge? I'm always kind of charged anyway. I think
recalibrate is my biggest
one. I'm a big fan of putting planning time and thinking time in diaries. And it's like that came from Keith Cunningham, Rich Dad, because he's like, what? Sorry, you put times in your diary, to think, really? And I'm like, oh, if Keith Cunningham does it, I'm doing it. It's like, so I've got times in my diary to think and plan. It's put aside for that, and that's often why I go away on my own in my camper van. It's like, because I then take books, I then go out cycling, I go out running, I go out walking, and when you're left alone with your thoughts, that's when you start to find out who you really are.
Yeah.
Some people don't want to be left alone with their thoughts, hence the reason why they become addicted to things, because they don't want to think about who they are. They don't like themselves. You need to learn to like yourself. You need to learn to love yourself, actually. And once you, and I'm not talking about in a narcissistic sort of way, you just need to learn to love who you are and what you stand for and what you do.
You are inside and here.
And that will keep you stable and steady all the way throughout your life. If you understand who you are and what you do, and I'm always a thing about honesty, integrity. I think honesty and integrity is the be all and end all as far as I'm concerned. If I was going to be a Star Trek character, I'd probably be a cross with a Vulcan and a Klingon, because I'm very logically minded, but I'm also very honor. Honor is a big thing for me. Integrity, and I will never compromise my honor and integrity for anyone, because it's only me that can give it away. And once it's gone, it's gone. You'll live with that for the rest of your life if you were dishonest. And I know a few people like that, and I kind of think, how do they live with themselves? They turn to addiction.
And you do, people, and it's just, they're just continually dishonest with people around them and themselves.
I've got somebody lately, it says, oh, I can't pay my bill.
Yeah.
I've got somebody lately, I can't pay my bill, and then I look on social media and they're in Corfu.
That's crazy.
Hello?
I know.
What? It's,
There is no response to
it's
that.
like,
But
what?
yeah.
What? And it's like, is that, and for me, that tells me everything about that person and how disingenuous that person is and how dishonest that person is. I think that tells you a lot about a person. It's like, I can't, or it's a classic example, I can't pay my rent, and the next minute they're on, they're away for a holiday. And it's like, we're away to Lapland. I've had that. Away to Lapland to meet Santa Claus. And it's like, wait a minute, is a roof over your head more important? And it's like, it's not as if your rent is unaffordable, but that's how some people view the world. That's how they've been taught. That's what they've been taught. They don't.
Yeah.
I suppose they don't know any otherwise. But surely somebody at some point should point out to them. It's like, maybe you should actually honour your obligations first before you go using someone else's money, which could be used, because I've still got to pay everybody. I've still got to put contributions into the community. I've still got to pay the tax man. I've still all these different things. I've got to pay suppliers, and it's like, oh, I didn't think I should pay my bill, and I'll just go away to Corfu.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that are like that and have that mindset. So, and it is people.
But it'll come back to haunt you.
Yes, people might find
people round about you will remember who you really are.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the impression you don't want to leave with people. But yeah, coming back to the isolating yourself and avoiding that, and really surrounding yourself with people that you feel free to properly express yourself and share your thoughts and things without feeling like you're going to be judged or possibly questioned on. And there's a lot of ways to surround yourself with individuals. I mean, it could be your family, it could be friends, it could be positive groups, but make sure it's the right people. And we say this. When you
Your family's probably the worst.
Yeah, you say that quite a lot. A lot of people might find that it's maybe their families or from certain members of their family have the negative impact on their life. And it's not to say cut your family out, but maybe spend a wee bit less time letting them influence you.
Yeah, I've got to admit, Richard, the lessons I've learned from my family have benefited my own personal family.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I've realised it's like, I'm not going to be like that with them.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot of, so there's a lot of mistakes that my mother and father has made, which I've learned immensely from. But there's a lot of successes my mother and father have made, which I've learned as well from. Yeah. So, and this is the whole thing about give yourself a break. It's like, okay, you've made a mistake. Give yourself a break. Just didn't do it again. So, you don't need to repeat a failure all the time. It's no a habit or anything like that. But for some people, they need it because it just gives them that motivation, that drive. Imagine that, eh? How failure can motivate somebody to fail, just because it makes them feel alive.
Yeah,
that's how people have destructive relationships. Yeah, that's why people just deliberately. Oh, this relationship's pretty boring. It's like, how am I going to spice it up? A fear.
Let's
Definitely.
sabotage.
Yeah, let's self-sabotage. It's like, I'm gonna need to spice it up. I'm gonna need to do something. We're gonna need to have some aggravation or something like that, because I just can't stand this boring monotony of day to day. Get used to the grind, folks. That's what it's all about. It's going to be like that. Just be happy that you've got someone, because there's people out there living in the street right now.
Nothing.
No one. That's why they're in the street.
And happy would be happy with being content. It's quite a good one. So, but I think when we talk about failure and learning from it all and things, the final thing to round it up on is to never really forget that your mental health is really crucial, and that's where your mindset and allowing yourself to process failure in the correct way to benefit you and the people around you is so important.
Whereas I'd go to hell with your mental health. It's Monte Carlo or bust, folks.
So,
I get that completely, Richard. It's like, but I'm of the old school. It's like, push yourself to the limit, and then when you don't think you can push yourself even more, just keep pushing.
But then you burn out.
Yeah, that really gets you in a difficult situation. But then you have to understand yourself really well, and I think running a marathon is more important than doing the sprint.
Mm-hmm.
But being able to run at a marathon pace to enable you to do a sprint every now and again.
Yeah.
So it's that consistent in order to overcome failure. It's just that consistent. That's my final thoughts on this. Just that consistent approach about doing it every single time. And then when you need to pull out the bag, doing that sprint, coming back down and just keep continuing and doing that every single day, the daily stuff every single day. Hence the reason why I go live every single day, come hell or high water, since the pandemic. Hence the reason why I've done so many videos. Hence the reason why we do so many things, because it keeps consistency, it keeps control, it keeps balance in my life overall. And I'll sit and talk to myself on this if I want to, and I'm not really particularly bored if anybody else is listening in, because it lets me process my thoughts.
You process,
yeah, absolutely. Why do you think I go swimming every Wednesday morning for a mile in the pool, and I never stop? I just do a mile every single time, 44 minutes to an hour, depending. I might do 2 kilometers, but I'm alone with my thoughts, and I think all the time when I'm swimming.
Oh, you're doing it, yeah.
All the time. I don't stop. It's like you're going, and then by the time I've got a bit stressed and all the rest of it, I'm not sure what to do about something. By the time I get to the pool, everything's resolved, and so for some reason the world looks like a different world. So it gives a lot of resolution about, the big thing about having that wee sort of box. You put your problem in the box, close it, 2 days later, open the box, what's the problem again? Oh, I've got the solution.
Yeah. And then when you revisit it, yeah.
Okay, right, let's wrap up because I'm away at Glastonbury.
Okay, right. Well, you have an amazing week, Jim. Thanks for that show. Thanks to everybody joining in the comments and watching on TikTok and things. Anybody who has any comments on the reruns, just write them in there. We'll pick them up, and you could always reach out to us anytime.
And if you follow my page, you're no doubt I'll show you loads and loads of live videos from Glastonbury.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can keep up with Jim at Glastonbury this week if you're interested in that. Right, I'll leave it there. Thanks for that, Jim, and I'll see everyone later. Okay.
See you later. Bye-bye.